Welcome back. A big news this past week as the Biden administration opened the U.S. land border to vehicle traffic for the first time in 20 months. I sat down with Tracy Hamilton of Inspired Vacations to discuss what Canadians need to remember when they cross over and, more importantly, what they need when they return home. What can you tell us about the border reopening? What do Canadians need to know before crossing over?
Well, they need to know first and foremost that they just have to have their vaccine records. And to travel to the US by land, they do not have to do any testing. So that's one of the big things. What we also need to remember is that we do currently still have to test on the way back into Canada. So that might be the bigger part of the challenge
Yeah,
at
I
the
was going
moment.
to say, like, maybe more importantly, what do Canadians need to know when traveling back home to Canada? It seems like there's quite a few more rules and documents that we need when returning home.
Absolutely. So currently, we need to have a negative PCR test completed. And we also still have to have that Arrive Can app filled out. And that's what we have to show at the border. So even though some of those people heading down are going, yes, I don't have to do a test, they still will have to have that PCR test to come home.
Yeah, and those can sometimes get pretty pricey, can't they?
They can, depending where you're at. I know we have people who, you're going to the pharmacies, you can go to the health clinics, and depending on the size of the city that you're in, the prices can range quite a bit. So it's helpful to shop around, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And they are looking for that Arrive Can app, like you were mentioning, and most of us can just download that app on our phones. What about somebody who maybe is in the older generation or doesn't have a cell phone, doesn't do online stuff? What can they do?
Have paper copies of everything. I haven't had anybody, obviously, at the land borders, but I assume that they would have sort of arrangements. Any of our clients that we've had traveling and are kind of technically challenged, no matter what the age, right? Some people have different levels of comfort. We help them get all of those things set up. So yeah, lots of times, and if it is someone older, they've got a younger person in their life who might be able to help them with that app and getting things downloaded. But have everything printed as well.
Okay, so what is that Arrive Can app? What types of information is it looking for from our Canadian travelers?
What it requires is you need to put in your passport. So it has that. You need to, again, for air, you put in your flight numbers, where you're flying into, that sort of thing. You need to also put in your vaccine records, and then, of course, the negative test results.
Okay.
Those are the big pieces in the.
Yeah, and I think you have to have a quarantine plan as well, just in case you are made to quarantine. What makes a good quarantine plan? What are they looking for?
A good quarantine plan is making sure that you have someone or some method of getting groceries brought in, that you're in a home or location, I guess, where you're not mingling with others, and just essentially that you can look after your daily needs without having to go out into public.
Maybe something else that many people aren't aware of too is that if you've had COVID in the last 3 months or so, you can actually travel without a negative PCR test, mostly because after COVID, you'll continue to test positive for several months. So, do you know anything about this, Tracy?
That would be the kind of the third option, I guess, for people is, to do the testing, to have the vaccines. And then, yes, if you have had COVID, we have a certain amount of time where we have those antibodies. So go to your doctor, make sure that you were actually tested and it was confirmed. Um, Again, I guess on that side of it, it would be make sure the country you're going to would
Mhm.
accept that as part of their entry requirements. Every country is different, and so we want to make sure that you're not going to be denied entry once you get there.
After the break, I speak with a retired Canadian Forces colonel in celebration of Remembrance Day, which we just observed this week. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a like and hit that subscribe button. But stay with us. We'll be right back.
They have elements of PTSD, post-traumatic impact from what they have witnessed, what they have undergone.